Feuding Bros, we are back again, and today we are talking everything Liverpool. And to help us with the Liverpool episode, we have our good friend Nate. It's the second time on the channel. What's up, Nate, man? Good to see you, and thank you for coming back.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
No
Yes, sir.
problem, no
Yes, sir.
problem.
Yes, sir.
And we are very glad to have you today. And again, thank you for being here and for the support and everything. And today we're gonna talk about your beloved Liverpool and Liverpool, who obviously are the champions of the Premier League. Sadly enough to say for me, but yes, it is what it is. And yeah, I'm sure you're happy about that. So yeah, let's get into it. But before we get into it, how did you feel about well? It's kind of a silly question, but how did you feel about Liverpool's
Well,
achievements?
let me just say, one day Arsenal will get there.
Okay, shots fired already.
Okay,
Like
okay,
we're not,
Yeah,
okay.
that's like,
we're not
All right, I
communicating.
digress. Okay, sorry, I just had to throw that out there. But
one day.
I feel good about our accomplishments last year. I mean, winning the Premier League, that was pretty big. I definitely like Slot's approach to the game. Um, I feel like it's been described like a number of ways, but I think the one that probably describes it the most for me is like a more measured approach than Klopp's like high powered, just go all the time, like go until you die, basically. And Klopp is just like, Slot is just like, no, we're just gonna kind of get that measured kind of approach. So you saw Gravenberg, last season, pretty much carrying it through the midfield and all that kind of stuff. And sadly, Diaz is leaving this year, so that's gonna be a bummer. But I feel like we just signed Wirtz, and I think he played up the middle in the most recent game probably, but maybe like him or Sabazlai could slide out wide or something like that and you know get some winger in there or whatever. But yeah, I mean I'm liking our chances. I'd like to see us maybe challenge a bit in the Champions League.
Yeah,
Let
I
me
mean,
let me ask you.
you
Sorry, sorry.
touched on, sorry, you touched on a good point there. So at the beginning of last season, obviously, it was like kind of like a bit of a transition period for you guys. Obviously, the legend of the club, Klopp, left the club, and Slot, who came in a bit of an unknown, a bit of an unknown quantity, basically. Well, I didn't really know much about him, honestly, and he came in and he surprised everybody. How did you feel about first of all Klopp leaving and then being replaced by Slot?
It was it was like one of those things that hurt for it hurt whenever Klopp was leaving. We were like, oh man, like we finally had our golden coach. Liverpool had so many seasons before that was just not really all that great, and then Klopp came in, and it was like we were like flying high, and then he left, and we were like, what the heck, But I and yeah, the same. It was the same for me. I didn't really know much about Slot either. I was like, how is this going to go? That was my initial reaction. I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this, and I think a lot of other Liverpool fans would say the same. But he did really. You're right. He did really come in there and surprise everyone with his tactics. And so I'm really happy about that, and I think with the additions that we've made, I think we can challenge even further.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Can
it
I
did it.
ask you?
Just sorry, I'll give you,
Go, 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 go.
I'll give you the word in
This
a
this
in a
is
moment.
Yan's show, guys.
Yeah.
Uh, and he did it without really having any much help, from the board, because I think the only player that he got in was Chiesa, and he pretty much used whatever he had, well, whatever you guys had the previous season, and the previous season wasn't great. and it completely changed it, especially in the tactics, like you said. And then one of his genius move for me was just converting Gravenberch into that central defensive midfielder that he is today. But yeah, go ahead, Terry. What you got for him?
No, I was just gonna ask, like, obviously, like Jan mentioned, with Slot coming in and Klopp leaving and whatnot, and obviously as well, we saw the transfer window. There was a lot of speculation of, like, kind of, I wouldn't say panic, but there was a lot of questions about why you guys weren't signing anyone, and then finally Chiesa came at the end, but I think most people were thinking that you guys had a bad window at that time, at the time of the season started. So what were your expectations, like your realistic expectations going into the season, knowing that you've got a new manager and you also didn't really sign anyone to help him. So what were you thinking, like, you guys could achieve at the start of the season?
Honestly, I was thinking we were not going to achieve much at all, really. At the beginning of
I
last
remember,
season.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the beginning of last season, I was like, "What is about to happen?" We've got this coach who I don't know that I've ever heard of before, and I think a lot of other Liverpool fans would be like, "Yeah, I don't really know much about that guy," and then he's not bringing much signings either. So what's going on? So I think all of us were just kind of questioning it, really. And then he just came in there and did the absolute unthinkable
Yeah.
and won the Premier League, and we're just like, what in the world, So I think I think maybe just his approach to the game really was the way that we were able to do that with like no signings.
Yeah.
Um, and so I feel like his tactics will probably be the same this season. He might tweak them a little bit, just based on like some new signings that we have and things. But I think we have more firepower now. With
Which you need a lot.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we've got Wirtz. We signed him. I think there was a new striker that played in the game recently. I can't remember what his name is. Um,
Ekatike?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that he did all that much in the game, but that's still additional firepower. And then of course, if we get Isak, I mean,
Yeah.
that'll be, you know, he could honestly probably get us pretty far in the Champions League, I would say.
Yeah.
That's right. And quick thing on that, because the firepower aspect is something that last year, yes, you guys didn't have to worry about it so much, and the main reason for that was what Salah being on a amazing run. You guys
Man,
completely, yeah, you guys blitzed the league.
oh man,
Starting what in January,
yeah.
you guys completely just went ahead of everybody, and thanks to Salah, right, being in an amazing, um, you know, form and everything. So, is he gonna be able to repeat that? Obviously, now with the additions that you guys are trying to make, you already got Vert, you already got Ekitike. Isak is definitely on his way. He say he just wants Liverpool. Making those additions, yes, it's a good thing on paper, but is it gonna gel? Is that gonna take away from Salah? Are people gonna be able to fill in? I know we're gonna talk about that in a minute, but is that something you are thinking about? Is Slot gonna be able to repeat what he did?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably gonna be where his like maybe tactics change a little bit because I think the dependency. I mean, I don't want to say dependency, but like let's be honest, Salah definitely showed last season. He was top bends, but he's only getting older, and I think what is he like 30? Is he
33,
32, 33, something like
32,
that?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I just think with the new additions, like maybe they try to not depend on him so much. I think maybe just kind of give him space to like do his own thing, which honestly, he's earned that. You know, he's
Yeah,
earned to be able to just kind of, show, he can show up when he needs to, or whatever, so
for sure.
um but I definitely think there might be a little bit of tweak of tactics to kind of um get it off of his shoulders so
Right,
much, if that makes sense.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
I think one of the genius thing that your board did is be able to renew not only Salah but Van Dijk as well. I understand that
Mhm.
Trent left. That was probably a blow for you, but
uh
you win some, you lose some. But renewing these two especially was because there was also a question mark over them over whether they will renew or whether they will lose. And I think losing one of Trent and or one of these two would have been a bigger blow, would have been harder to to replace, and especially if it's Salah. What is it? It's 30 plus goals that you're losing, and that's in this day and age that's very hard to replace. So I think there your board did especially well, just to lose. Well, now obviously you've lost also Diaz, but I think you've already
And
got a
Jota,
replacement.
let's not forget.
Oh yes, and Jota as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
oh man,
sadly
That was
left us.
yes.